So the question is today, do we have a deal with China or do we not have a deal with China? Do we have a deal or do we not have a deal? It's Thursday, December 12th, 2019. I just finished up with work. I'm traveling a little bit today, so on location. I wanted to take some time and make this video and talk about what has transpired today in these markets. Now, I've been busy working today, so I wasn't able to follow them as closely as I would like, but I've had some time to sit down, check out some news sources, and review a few things and talk about it. This morning, when I woke up, the market was over 300 points. And that was all on the news that the president said we're very close to a big China deal. The markets loved it, they surged. The markets didn't care that we got some bad news today. Jobless claims, 2-year high. But again, the market surged. It doesn't care about jobless claims. It doesn't really care about the real economy. What it does care about is this deal with China. What it does care about is that the Fed is going to do whatever it has to do and use every tool it has in its toolbox to make sure that this stock market continues to surge, that it continues to move forward, not caring about what's happening to the average day citizen here in America, what's happening in the real economy. No. These markets care only about the China trade deal and what the Federal Reserve is going to do to keep these markets surging. These markets are now on cruise control. How can they lose? With more talk of a China deal getting done that we've heard about now for over 2 years, with the Fed coming out and basically guaranteeing that the Fed will do whatever it takes to continue to make sure that this stock market is surging. Anytime it sneezes, the Federal Reserve is going to be there to give it a dose of medicine. Now I want to talk about what the president said today. This concerns me because we're coming up to the tariff deadline, December 15th, where a couple days ago, Navarro came out and said that he was very confident that if we had to, we would be raising tariffs on the 15th if we did not have a deal. Now today, the president comes out and says that he's willing to reduce tariffs 50% and cancel the deadline on raising the Chinese tariffs on December 15th. And of course, the market loved it. It surged up over 300 points. Now, later on in the day, China came back and didn't really like the deal. They want all tariffs removed. And they could not commit to buying as much agricultural products as we want them to. I think we want a deal of about $40–50 billion of agricultural products. As you and I know now, they are cutting deals with Brazil, they're cutting deals with Argentina and South America. Look at the shipping ports in South America, they're booming, ours are dead. And so now they come back and say, well, we can't promise, we can't commit to purchasing that much in agricultural products. And so the market pulled back a couple hundred points. So we go from 300 and change to about 100 points, pulled back. Now, at the end of the day, the White House comes back and says, we have a deal in principle. I don't know what that means. Maybe you do. Please comment down below. But didn't we have a deal in principle before? So we have nothing in writing. It's all speculation. I don't know about you. I don't trust this communist regime. They're cutting deals throughout the world. What I do see them doing is stringing this president along and this country along until after the election. I got to tell you, I'm losing a little bit of faith here. I really believe it's in the best interest of America on December 15th to raise those tariffs on China. China is becoming so powerful and we are looking very weak here. If we do not stand up to China right now, they're going to see weakness. And I don't know about you, but my life has not really changed all that much with these tariffs that we slapped on China. Maybe most people are paying, 50 cents or $1 or $2 more at Walmart. I couldn't tell you because I don't shop at Walmart and will never shop at Walmart. But from what I'm reading, the average American is really not feeling too much discomfort with these tariffs on China right now. We're seeing prices being raised more on healthcare, education, automobiles, real estate, rent, and your standard of living, not in these cheap Chinese products that most people are buying over at Walmart. So has it really, I mean, ask yourself, comment down below. I would really be curious to know your opinion on this. Have these tariffs really affected your life? Now, I know there are exceptions to the rule, and there are people out there that have been affected by the tariffs, farmers, for instance, maybe people in the aluminum business. But if we do not stand up to China right now, if we do not stand up in this trade war, this is a war of power now. This is a war of the future. Who is going to be the reigning empire? Who's going to have the world reserve currency? If we do not stand up to this manufacturing giant right now, they are going to overtake the United States of America, and nobody's going to be complaining about saving, 25 cents or 50 cents on a cheap plastic product at Walmart. We're going to be complaining about this communist regime now controlling the world reserve currency, having the biggest banks in the world, manufacturing everything. They are literally going to hijack everything, okay? And when they're the only ones making anything in the world, they can charge you whatever they want. So if we are not a power player, if we are not a competitor, if we are not making goods and products right here in America, we're going to lose our leverage. And right now, with what leverage we have left, I see weakness. If we do not raise tariffs December 15th, the stock market is going to love it. But the economy here in America, I don't think is going to. I think this is going to show weakness. I think China will feel more invincible, more powerful. And again, we are a country that is based on consumption. We're not making anything, and China knows it. China is stringing us along. They're waiting us out. And I don't think, as I've said in the past, I don't think they really want a deal. What do you think? Does China really want a deal, or are they too powerful now? If this president does not raise tariffs on December 15th, he is going to show weakness. And I believe it shows, at least in my eyes, and I know many of you, that he is putting this stock market in front of the real U.S. economy, that he cares more about the stock market. And I hope I'm wrong, but is he more concerned about the stock market crashing because we don't get a China deal? I don't believe we can be in a trade war and worry about the stock market at the same time. If we're in a trade war, we must not worry about the stock market. We must worry about the future of this country. We must worry about the world reserve currency. We must start worrying about manufacturing. Militarily, we need to start worrying about China. They are not a friend. They are a foe. Remember, they are a communist regime. And if we're too worried about our stock market, this propped up fake illusion, this Ponzi scheme, if we're too worried and more concerned about propping it up even more than it is, we're in big trouble. The market also realizes it has another friend, and that's the Federal Reserve. Yesterday, rates unchanged, and the Fed signals no action until 2021. So they're saying no rate hike for 2020. These markets are on cruise control. If we don't get tariffs, if we don't slap tariffs on China, and now the Fed assuring the markets that there will be no rate hike for the year of 2020, these markets should be surging until some black swan event takes place. This is really, I believe, so dangerous for the United States of America. Yesterday, U.S. consumer prices jumped most in a year, but goods and costs decelerate. Consumer prices jumped more than expected in November, rising 2.1% year over year, the biggest jump since 2018. Yet they tell you there's no inflation. Core CPI rose 2.3% year over year. The biggest gains were in energy. They were in used cars. They were in shelter. And I'm sure if we look at healthcare, if we look at education, we're going to see major gains. Your paycheck is not keeping up with the cost of living. And so that brings me to another topic here of why it's so important that we aren't living beyond our means, we're not living over our heads, we're not living on credit cards when we're at a time now where so many people are believing this garbage that everything is okay because the stock market is surging. We're at all-time highs now. These markets are going absolutely crazy. While the US economy is sinking, while jobless claims are rising, while manufacturing is in a recession, while trucking and freight is in a recession, and yet people believe everything is okay. The same people who are living paycheck to paycheck believe everything is okay. The same people who are going into debt to try and remain in the middle class, they believe everything is okay. It's more reason why you must be conservative right now, why you must be building your foundation right now. This tsunami is coming. This stuff all sounds great on the outside, but this is a wrecking ball coming to the United States of America. All this propaganda, this Ponzi scheme, these numbers, it's all a big lie. And if you believe this, you are really risking your entire life, because the day of reckoning is coming to America. They can keep telling you and brainwashing you with how good things are, but take a good look at the real US economy and what's happening. I could care less what's happening in the stock market. It is so detached from reality. What you better care about is what's happening in the real economy, what's happening in your economy. When I watch what is going on in this country today, when I watch this trade war with China that's been going on for over 2 years, every time these markets sneeze, somebody comes out and says, we're close to a great deal. And immediately these algorithms surge. We have nothing in writing, we have no agreement, yet these markets believe the same lie day in and day out. We all are going to be responsible for ourselves. I don't believe that you should put your trust in anybody but God and yourself, not in financial institutions, not in banks, not in governments. Everybody at the end of the day is going to be responsible for themselves. This article came out a couple days ago. 3 men arrested in New Jersey for running alleged $722 million crypto Ponzi scheme. $722 million crypto Ponzi scheme. So, you know, people put so much trust in institutions and in investments, and this is why I believe it's so important now to be your own central bank, so important to be holding your own assets, not putting them in a bank, holding them physically in your own hand, putting them in places that you can get to in an emergency, not trusting an institution, not trusting a bank, not trusting another human being, but only yourself. Remember, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. When you look at gold, if you look at silver, there's no third-party risk. When you are buying into Ponzi schemes like these people did, again, 3 men arrested in New Jersey for running alleged $722 million crypto Ponzi scheme. There are people out there that trusted a few people with a lot of money, and they got burned. And this is why it's so imperative that you trust no man, you trust no institution, you trust yourself. You need to be holding hard physical assets, and you need to be holding cash. Again, we're getting so close to something so big happening. When I continue to watch these lies transpiring, when I continue to watch the Federal Reserve sell out America, creating massive amounts of debt to continue to float this Ponzi scheme, this thing is going to be so bad. There's nobody out there, including myself, that can even conceive how massive this crash is going to be. This crash should have happened already. It should have happened back in 2008, but America was too soft to let it happen. We didn't want to suffer for 4 or 5 years. So the Fed came in, the white knight on the horse rode in, created massive amounts of debt, and you're on the hook for it, I'm on the hook for it, but nobody wanted to feel the pain, okay? The 500-pound obese person didn't want to go on a diet that day. They wanted to continue to eat. So now we've continued to eat for another 11, 12 years. Now we're 900 pounds, and we're about ready to have a massive cardiac arrest here as a country because we didn't want to deal with the pain. We didn't want to stop eating. We didn't want to stop consuming back in 2008. That was just a small heart attack. We're back up, we're eating, we're consuming, we're abusing ourselves even more because we are too soft to deal with pain. We just want to hide in our little bubbles and continue to let this behavior snowball. And now we are sitting on the verge of the biggest economic collapse in the history of the planet. So as people continue to buy into these markets, continue to buy into the propaganda, as they continue to believe that we're going to get a deal with China, there will be no real deal with China. If we get a deal with China in writing, it will never be a real deal. China will stab America in the back. China today is cutting deals with other countries right now today as I make this video. They are doing everything they can to be less and less dependent on America. They want to be less and less dependent on the US dollar. They want to be less and less dependent on the resources of America. That is why they are cutting deals today, this minute, while I make this video, with other countries like Brazil, like Argentina. They are cutting deals. And if they're not cutting deals, they're coming over to America and they're buying farms and they're growing their own pork, their own agriculture, being less and less dependent on US farmers, less and less dependent on pork producers here in America. And when this crash happens in America, not if, but when it does happen, guess who is going to come into America and buy this country up? It's going to be China. And guess what they're going to buy? They're going to buy your farms, they're going to buy your land, they're going to buy your houses, they're going to buy your companies, and they're going to buy your country. This is a communist regime, and I hope nobody forgets that. I know there's a lot of people out there watching this video that love China. They love the communist regime. They think it's the future. You have no idea what you're inviting in to America. But I can tell you this, if America does not wake up here real quick and stand up to China in this trade war, you're going to find out sooner than later what it's like to live under a communist regime. Not that they're going to sit here and rule America, but they already influence the NBA, they influence Hollywood, they're influencing Washington, D.C. right now. They don't have to come in here and put a president in here, they'll just buy one, okay? But if they have the world reserve currency, if they own massive amounts of real estate, businesses, Hollywood, media, they pretty much own America, right? And that's the plan. They know that they're going to crash America. They know that they have the 20 tons of gold. What does America have? We haven't seen Fort Knox in 50 years. We have no idea what's in Fort Knox today. China is making everything. They're building everything. They have the 4 biggest banks in the world, the biggest military in the world. Their technology is growing at leaps and bounds. They are leaving America in the dust. And if you're not worried about this, you are absolutely asleep, or you just don't care about your country. I love this country. I care about this country. And I certainly don't want to see China rise up as the biggest empire on the planet. And they're going to do that if we do not stand up to them right now. And guess who will have allowed it to happen? We literally gave China all the technology. We sent the jobs to China. We allowed China to come in here and buy our farms and our real estate. We allowed China into our banking institutions, into our technology. We are our own worst enemy here in America, and it's just so disgusting how we have just sold out and don't care. And when people find out how their life is going to change, when the US dollar is no longer the world reserve currency, when China now controls the world, when they are the world superpower, when they are going to dictate where the wars start and where they end, they're going to dictate how the money flows throughout the planet. They're going to dictate what backs their currency, the yuan or their new crypto. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have gold or silver today, you are playing Russian roulette. This was on Zero Hedge yesterday. The wealthy are stockpiling physical gold. Now, there's one thing about the wealthy that separates the wealthy from the poor. The wealthy are smart. The wealthy are awake. The wealthy can see down the road. And the wealthy live in the real world. They understand what is happening throughout the globe. They understand what's happening in the stock market. They understand it's an illusion, a Ponzi scheme, and that's why so many of them have already gotten out. But in this article, it says In a note published by Goldman Sachs over the weekend, Goldman recommended diversifying long-term bond holdings with gold. The Goldman note cited political uncertainty and recession fears as the catalyst for the move toward gold. It also mentioned worries about wealth tax, money printing, that's quantitative easing, and the current loose central bank monetary policy. Data buried in the note also revealed that owning physical gold appears to be the preferred method to hedge against tail events by the rich. Holding metal is an absolute must for every one of you, whether it's gold or silver or gold and silver. Right now, I see the market's full steam ahead, and there is going to be some money to be made. And if you're making money in the market, you need to be pulling some of that money out, and you need to be converting it into hard assets. Take some of that fiat monopoly money that you're making in the market and protect yourself with real assets. Another article I read last night on Zero Hedge, Cycle Top CEO resignations jump amid collapse in corporate confidence. Isn't it amazing? We're at all-time highs in the stock market, but we have a record-breaking number of CEOs getting out. And as most of you know, most of these CEOs are cashing out. They're selling off their stock, they're getting out. So many people inside these corporations are cashing out their own stocks and getting the hell out. CEOs are departing companies at a record rate, fastest in nearly 2 decades. Is that a coincidence? CEOs generally have a good lead on the economy and can spot acceleration and deceleration periods in the business cycle. CEOs are aware of what is coming. They know the economy is turning down, although they're telling you, you should be jumping in. You should be buying as they're selling, as they're getting out. You know what they're stockpiling? They're stockpiling gold, they're stockpiling silver, and they're stockpiling cash. Assets and cash. While the consumer thinks the economy is doing great, the CEOs are heading for the door and dumping stocks. I see big problems coming with this pension crisis. As I said many videos ago, we will start seeing an uptick in unemployment. We just saw the beginning of that today. And remember, AI and technology coming in, going to replace millions of jobs. Many millions of people will not be working because of technology. And so who is going to support these corporations and buy these products when nobody's working? As we continue to allow this country to be invaded while we're paying for the invasion, the American taxpayer, the American citizen, his lifestyle, her lifestyle is being decimated while they stand by and believe everything is okay. You guys are awake. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a wonderful day to go buy some more metal. It's another wonderful day to put some cash away. And it's another great day not to go buy a new car for $50,000. Keep that used car and drive it till the wheels fall off. This is the time to be building and solidifying that foundation that you're going to need when this collapse hits America. Ladies and gentlemen, it's coming. It's going to be brutal.